Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Jeff, for inviting me. Thanks, CCU. And thank all of you. As an Israeli, I cannot tell you how heartwarming it is to see this support. In my remarks today, 3 short, personal stories of life and death, and 1 eternal question. My grandfather was sent to Auschwitz when he was 22. After losing most members of his immediate and broad family, he came to mandatory Palestine, fought for the establishment of the Jewish state, and fought in Israel's war of independence, forced upon us by the Arabs who rejected their portion of the land, not for the first time. Unfortunately, molded by fierce anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe, the atrocities of the Nazis, 11 months in the Jordanian prison, despite it all, my grandfather had one message to me throughout his entire life. The ultimate revenge, he always told me, is life. Free, peaceful, dignified life. That is what they have always wanted to take from us, and that is what we have never and will never give them. The Jews, arguably the most persecuted people in the history of mankind, have always refused being the victim. Through sheer resilience, we stuck to our deep beliefs and to our core values and marched on. This is the Jewish version of revenge. Life above all. On March 27, 2002, in the Park Hotel in Netanya, a city in Israel, a few families gathered for one of the most important family and religious days in the Jewish calendar, the Passover Seder. Dressed as a woman, a suicide bomber entered the room, blew himself up, murdering 30 members of one family and injuring 160 more. One of the survivors, a year behind me in law school, lost all of her family but her brother. Israel announced Operation Defensive Shield, and I was recruited as a reservist back from law school. A few days into the operation, I found myself in the hospital. I wasn't shot, I wasn't even injured. In the battles in and around the terrorist nest city of Jenin, our forces were shot at, fired back, and hit the Hamas terrorists. I was sent by my commander in a military ambulance with a wounded Hamas terrorist, rushing him to an Israeli hospital for an emergency operation to save his life. I spent the night guarding him at the hospital. We exchanged some stories in my broken Arabic and his broken Hebrew. I've gone back in my memory multiple times to that incident, thinking to myself, what would have happened had it been the other way around? Would they have rushed me to a hospital to save my life? Would they have treated me with the dignity and respect I treated the terrorist that had just beforehand tried to kill us? Or would they have brutally dismembered my body and celebrated my death? I think we all know the answers to those questions. That difference, I believe, says it all. One people protecting life, any life, above all and through it all. Another actively to take life and celebrate death. On October 7th, I put a big Israeli flag outside of our house in Colorado. A few days ago, just a few days ago, my son, my youngest, 9 years old, came to me and asked me to take down the flag. He said he was scared. He said that he's scared that someone would see the flag and try to break into our house and harm us because we're Jewish. We live at the end of a dead-end street in a suburb of Denver, in the United States of America, in 2023, and my son is scared that someone is going to break into our house and hurt us because we're Jewish. I told him what I told him, something appropriate to his age, but then I thought more about that. It's not just the Israeli flag. They're taking down the Australian flag under the Sydney Opera House, the British flag in the streets of London, indeed the US flag on Lexington Avenue in New York City. You think they're coming for the Jews? It wasn't an Israeli-Arab conflict behind the 2011 Mumbai bombing by the Indian Mujahideen. It isn't the Jewish-Muslim conflict behind it isn't the Jewish-Muslim dispute behind the mass rapes of non-Muslims by Boko Haram in Nigeria. It wasn't a territorial question behind the Paris attacks in 2015, killing 137 French. Indeed, none of these was the question behind 9/11 murdering 3,000 Americans. The jihadists are coming for you. They're coming for all of us. They're coming for our shared values of dignity, life, respect, and freedom. Whether you understand it or not, we all now live in Israel. And unless we call jihad for what it is and deal with it as a shared, imminent, common danger to our Western Judeo-Christian civilization, it is not just the Israeli flag that I will have to remove from my front lawn in Colorado. In closing, a question. What was the first question in the Bible? Before the world was created, there were no questions. What was the first question in the Bible? Adam and Eve had just eaten from the forbidden fruit. And God then asks Adam the very first question in the Bible. In Hebrew, it's a single word. Ayeka, where are you? Does God not know where Adam is? Of course he does. Adam knows that, and indeed does not answer, here I am. Instead, he says, I was afraid and therefore hid. In other words, Adam understands that God's question is not one of physical location. It's one of spiritual location. And that question, the first question, is also our eternal question. Where are you spiritually? Where are you morally? Can you elevate yourself above one-line tweets, slogans, and ignorance and into the actual meaning? Can you tell the difference between good and evil? So in closing, I ask you, keep asking yourselves this eternal question of morality. Keep reminding yourself of who truly shares your core values. Keep asking yourself if this is the America, if this is the world you want to live in. And keep fighting those who wish for death by supporting, now and forever, those who fight, above all and through it all, for life. Thank you.